All right, so I have my animation sequence in Maya. I have some motion capture applied to the control rigs, to my characters, and they are beautifully dancing and noodling, and I'm super happy with it. I also have some cameras laid out here that follow the action. There's also a second one. And I would like to export all animation in that sequence in a single click, including the character animation, the camera's animation, and all that. So in order to do that, I created a script to help me with that that I call the animation exporter. And it looks like this. And in here, we have an option to add the skeleton hierarchies that I would like to export, and also the cameras that I would like to export. So let's give it a go. I'm going to find in Outliner the roots of the hierarchies that I'd like to export. So it's this one, and the other one is the other character. So that's the skeleton hierarchies that I'll be exporting from that sequence. I can also, if I'm ever in doubt which is which, I can click select in Outliner to highlight it, and then to find it in Outliner, so you know which one's which. And I'm going to do the same thing with the cameras. I have two cameras here that follow the action, so I'm going to add those cameras also, and they can be also in a hierarchy, that doesn't matter. I'll select them both, click Add Selected, and then I have all the elements that I want to export from that scene to later on assemble it in Unreal Engine to create a cinematic sequence. Let's add a couple of more settings. I'm going to browse and specify the folder to which I want to export my clips to. I'm gonna use this folder as the root, but I can also specify a custom export directory for each and every single hierarchy, but also the cameras. So I'm gonna, for example, keep this one. Yeah, let's keep this one here. Doesn't really matter. It's the same as the top one. But for the cameras, I would like to export the cameras into the cameras directory inside of that folder. So I'm going to override that setting. You can also specify the names of the exported FBX clips. So this opens up a pop-up, and yeah, I'm going to leave it as this. And you can do the same for the cameras. Those names also work for me, but you can edit them in any way you want. Okay, so that's all the things that I need to export. I can click validate to see if it works. Everything is working fine. There's also a setting to set the playback range that you want to actually export. So right now I'm using the Maya playback range, but you can also change that for specific clips, right? So we can specify a start and end frame in here, but I'm not going to do that for this. And the last thing that is left to do is to click export and wait for everything to export. Okay, so it says batch processing complete. That means that our export successfully ended. And now I'm going to inspect one of the files that I exported. As you can see, the export file contains only the skeleton hierarchy that we specified. It strips it of any namespace, but it keeps the names of the joints exactly the same. And as you can see, it maintains the world position. The root contains the world position offset in this case. And yeah, the animation is baked to the hierarchy. We have our beautiful dance animation in here, like this. And after assembling the whole scene in Maya, I have the same scene. So I have the rooftop and our two characters dancing together with the cameras that I exported from Maya. Everything is assembled and working beautifully. In just a couple of clicks, I was able to export all the animation takes to assemble that cinematic in Unreal Engine. Nice. All right. So that doesn't seem like very sexy in any way, but now let's say that, I don't know, we decided to change the place where our cinematic happens, where the action happens, right? So let's say we decided to move it from this rooftop to this rooftop, and when working, like that happened to me so many times. Like we need to reposition the whole thing, or I don't know, change the script change, and we had to move things around. So given the experience, my past experience, I always set up my cinematics in a way that on top of my rigs, I overlay like the secondary rigs that allow me to always reposition my characters, but not interfere with the animation rigs themselves. And I also connect every single thing in my scene to something that I call the sequence origin. And that allows me to, by moving just one single node, reposition the whole scene, including props, cameras, and stuff like that, by just moving one single node without the need to select everything in the scene or the roots of every single scene, which is super neat. So yeah, you could say that we could do the same, right in Unreal Engine. So we could take our guys and get the same thing like our sequence origin, right? And either parent them underneath the sequence origin and then move them, or create attachments. Actually, parenting wouldn't work, because if you parented the characters and the cameras under the sequence origin that is already being moved, they would get like weirdly displaced. So let me do that real quick. So for example, if I take all those guys and parent them under the sequence origin, and now I would start, for example, rotating the sequence origin. Yeah, you see that they get like displaced. Where are they? Yeah, there they are, because their root is now not the center of the world, which is 0, 0, 0, as it should be for the animation clips in here, right? It's now the position of the sequence origin static mesh in this example. So that's why they get moved and displaced, right? So the proper way of doing this would be, let's unparent them. Yeah, would be going into the sequence and then adding the sequence origin to the sequence, selecting them and going to attach, preserve transforms, and then parenting them to the sequence origin. And yeah, and now if I rotated it or something or moved it, they would stay in place. But that's too many clicks for me. Like I don't want to do that, especially if you have like props and multiple elements in the scene, things that the characters interact with. That could be like a mess to do it this way. So I prefer to keep my animation takes clean. So in order to do that, let's get back to see if it actually nothing broke. Yeah, nothing broke. In my animation exporter, I included a setting that allows me to specify the scene origin for the whole sequence. So if you click this, and then in my sequence origin node, I have a locator that I add here that works for me as a origin of the whole scene, right? So now if I export the animation, the skeleton hierarchies will be exported relative to the position of the sequence origin, but the sequence origin will be moved to world 0, 0, 0 position. So somewhere, in that case, that will be somewhere in here, right? But that will allow me to then assemble the scene in Engine with the sequence origin being the root of the whole scene. And that will be, every single thing will be possible to move relative to the sequence origin node. And that will include cameras, characters, props anything that you would export using the enable scene origin offset. So really quickly, I will edit the animation clips and I will save them as not world offset, but as SQO, so sequence origin offset. SQO, click OK to not overwrite the old ones. And I'll do the same for the cameras. And then again, I'll click validate setup. Okay, yeah, everything's okay, no errors. And then I'm gonna go and click export and wait a while for it to export. All right, so everything exported. Let's see how our files look. And as you can see, now our skeleton hierarchy is way closer to the origin of the scene, to the world 000, but it's still like offset relative to the sequence origin, which we would have right in the middle of the world, right? So this way, when we assemble the scene in Unreal Engine, so I'm gonna hide those guys, which were the world position offset, world offset ones, and unhide these, right? So as you can see, right here, I have my skeletal meshes and the cameras just simply parented underneath the sequence origin. And now I can move this one single node, move it anywhere, rotate it anywhere, and everything will follow, right? So if I preview it, everything stays in place. Everything is exactly where it needs to be relative to each other. So the cameras follow the animation as they should. The characters stay exactly where they need to be. But then I can easily just take this one node and move it wherever I want, right? Which would be, in this case, let's say we wanted to move the whole action to a different rooftop somewhere, in a different place on the map. And this will still work, right? And the cameras, behave exactly as they should. And everything works beautifully. You can always hide this one when playing to not see it and stuff like that. So it's like my usual workflow when working on the previous cinematics. I always set up my scenes with the conjunction of the sequence origin. And that's how I do it. It's probably solving a problem that is just mine, but who knows? So jumping back to this, there's a couple more cool things here. So when exporting your skeleton hierarchies, you can also not only enable scene origin offset, but also reset your skeleton roots to world origin, so that will always move your animation to world 000, like right at 000 world. What else? There is also an option to color code the status of where your animation is. How's it working? So for example, this one needs to be revised, this one is already done, and these ones are in review. So that's how you can highlight what needs to still be worked on and what is already done. And the cool thing is that after saving the scene, once you close the exporter and open it up again, it retains everything that you had set up before, right? So let's say that we change some settings and we save again. The settings are permanent and they work per scene. So if you were working on a different Maya scene and worked using the exporter will retain and remember the settings you had set up in here per scene. So a different scene could have different settings stored, which I think is pretty neat. And it also works, of course, after you close and reopen the scene, it will remember all the settings. Yeah, as you can see, it retains also, like, it keeps the scene clean, so it doesn't, leave any duplicates or any sort of mess in the scene. You can still keep it very, very organized, and everything is like stayed intact. Everything is non-destructible, so you can still edit your animation and work on it however you want. So yeah, I think that's it, and maybe someone will find this useful. Thanks.